This is Dorothy Roberson, who is our narrator. My name is Connie Rufner, and I am the interviewer. So, Dorothy, what year were you born?
1915. September 1st, 1915.
So you're 97.
97.
So you've seen a lot.
Working on 98. I'm the oldest one here.
Yes.
And I do not use any help to walk or anything. And if Craig was here, he'd tell you I wear high heels.
I see that.
I do. I walk better. I've always been short.
Uh-huh.
I've worked in offices and always wore heels. And my legs feel better in heels. So, anyway.
Well, those are nice, too. So, you were born in 1915, so you've seen a lot of things. Where were you born?
Armstrong County, Red Bank Township, and near a little town called Mudlick. I was born in the country.
Okay.
Raised on a farm.
Were you?
A big farm.
How big?
I think it was 160 acres.
So, what kind of chores did you do?
Oh, I was raised to work.
Uh-huh.
I helped in the fields. I was the one that would, because I was the middle one. I had an older brother and an older sister, and a younger sister and younger twin brothers. So I was the middle one. And when they would go out in the fields to gather in the wagon loads of hay, they didn't bale it then like they do now. They just pitched the loose hay up on the wagon, and then I would tramp it down and place it where it should be.
Oh.
And that was okay, except once in a while there'd be a snake come up in that. Oh, and I hate snakes.
What would you do?
I'd start screaming. My dad would climb the wagon and find the snake. And I milked.
Uh-huh.
We had a large dairy farm. And I was telling someone not long ago, Sunday afternoon is when the country people at that time would go visiting.
Uh-huh.
And my mother and dad would gather up the kids and go visiting somebody else, other country people or relatives. I hated that. And I would promise Dad that if he would make me go, he wouldn't have to come home early to get the milking done. I would do all the milking.
Uh-huh.
And it was this way.
Yeah.
No electric milkers. And we had 17 cows.
That's a lot. How long does it take to milk a cow that way?
Oh, golly, I don't remember anymore. I don't really. Probably at least 10 minutes.
Uh-huh.
But that's why I was very, very young when I started milking, and I blame this arthritis on that my hands were really too young to do it. And then later on, when I got to be 16 and could drive, in the meantime, when I went to high school, I stayed at my brother's house in New Bethlehem. But when I got to be 16, Dad brought me to Katanning to take my driver's license. I remember where it was, down on Water Street. And I would milk the cows in the morning, or Dad would help. And then put the milk in the big 5-gallon cans, and I'd take it into town to the dairy store. We sold it there. Then I'd go to school, high school, And at night, then I'd bring the cans home, and that's...
Wow.
So I was a busy gal.
You were. You were.
And then I helped Mother in the house, too.
Now, is that the same dairy that used to be up in Wick City? Is that the same dairy that used to be up in Wick City?
Oh, no. It was called Bish's Dairy at that time. And, you see the picture, the two end pictures back there? That's the farm.
Oh, wonderful.
The big, I would have that if you would, and it looks the same yet, that house. It was a big brick house, and whoever's bought it has taken care of it.
Oh, that's great.
I go up there regularly just to sit down on the road and look up at the house.
Oh!
Oh, yeah, they take me at least 2 or 3 times a summer.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. I'm the only one left.
In your generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I dare tell you a story for this?
Oh, please, please.
I was sitting here thinking one day I wanted to talk to somebody, not anybody, wanted my family. I was homesick. And there were 6 of us, and my mother and dad, and I have a pretty good imagination, and I was visualizing Mother and Dad sitting in heaven at a great big round table. And there was Claire, my oldest brother, and Mary, my oldest sister, and Ruby, my younger sister, and Arnie and Dawn, the twins, all of them sitting at the table. And Dad looking around the table and saying, "Where's Dorothy? She should be here. She's the middle one." And then thinking a minute and looking at Mother and saying, "You don't suppose she went to hell, do you?" I laughed. I got a good laugh. Then I cried. But I'm the only one left. So I don't know why, but here I am.
So you moved away. So after you went to high school, is that the first time?
High school, and I got. I think I had a job at Murphy's 5 and 10 in New Bethlehem for a very short time after that. But then I went away up to Wellsboro. My aunt got very sick and nobody to take care of her. And I went up and took care of her for a while. And then I came back. Then I got married. That was my first one. And then that's really what started. I had 2 sons to this first marriage, but we moved from just Sharon, Latrobe, West Virginia, Clarksburg, Shinston, we were just constantly moving. And I like that. I like that part of it. I love to move. It's hard on children. Because you're changing schools all the time.
Yeah.
But my boys did very well. And so...
Now, was what, during the 30s?
In the 30s?
Yeah, was that during the 30s?
Oh, my one first son was born in... I was married in 1936. First son was born in 38. He is now, will be 75 years old and lives in Texas. And he's the one that was a fighter pilot in the Air Force for 30 years.
And that's a picture
That's
of him.
in his plane. And then in 41, my youngest son was born. And then it was just, like most families, they lived here and there, and
so you came back here, though, during the war?
During the war. I came back here. I lived up, and I forget what street you call it. It's up above where the YMCA is now.
Oh, yeah.
The new YMCA. Up in that area.
I know where you mean.
I lived there because of my two sisters living there. And then when my husband came home, we resumed his affiliation with G.C. Murphy. And we kept moving. And then until my boys both graduated, I did, when the oldest son graduated from high school, my husband and I got a divorce. And then I went it alone. I moved to Morgantown because he started in the university.
Oh.
And I got a job at the university. I was secretary to the dean of engineering, and also for the dean of dentistry. And then I quit the university and went to the big Wesley Church and was secretary to 4 preachers and a membership of 4,000 people.
Oh, my heavens. Heavens.
And from there, I got the chance to go to Washington, D.C., and I went there.
So so let's talk about being here during the war.
Yeah.
So you were a young mother, and your kids weren't very old.
No. Gary started to school. Up at that, there was a school right down the street from me. And he started first grade there. So he was 6. So then he would be about 4.
So did you get by on your husband's military pay?
I did. No, not alone. I in the house that I rented, I made the boys and I used there was one bedroom downstairs, and it was a large bedroom. Like I said, they were 4 and 6. And I slept in the living room, and I rented out the upstairs to 2 girls.
Oh, so that's how you got by.
Yeah, that's how I got by.
So, where was your husband? Where was he assigned?
This is strange. He was the World War II. You wouldn't expect, but he was with the cryptographic division.
Right.
He was assigned to that. And he was in China.
No kidding.
Because
China.
I remember when he stopped in India, he brought, I still have 2 little leather suitcases he brought from India. On the way back, he stopped in India and went to see the Taj Mahal and that on the way. But he was in China the whole time, the war that he was in the cryptographic division.
Did you get to hear from him very often? Did he write letters to you?
Oh yes. It got censored Always censor letters. Yes. And of course he never got home.
Right.
And I cannot remember when he went in. I know I had to move by myself from, we lived in Washington, VA. Moved from Washington here. And then when he was discharged, I was still here. And then we went back to Washington and started all over again. Moved from there to Indiana and all over again. I love to move.
Yeah, it sounds like...
I love to pack up in boxes. I love to unpack. So
you rented out a house,
Yeah.
and your husband was
out the
in
house.
China. How long was he there?
Well, that's what I'm trying to remember, how long he was in. I had a car. I had our car. I think he went in 1944. And, right now...
You don't remember when he got back?
It was a couple of years.
A couple of years.
A couple of years. Around that time.
So do you remember rationing? Did you have to...
Oh, yes.
So...
Yeah, never had enough butter or sugar or anything. Yes. And,
Could you get things from your family on the farm?
oh, yes. Yes. And I was close enough here I could... but then while we were there, my dad sold the farm and moved into New Bethel.
Oh.
Yeah. Because he was getting up in years. And
Right.
He was not well.
Right.
And he sold, so I would go up and help them out too. I didn't get a job because the boys were too little.
young, yeah. Right.
So, but I got by all right. I wouldn't want to go through it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. No.
Did you worry about your husband all the time?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But I knew he was... It was kind of like the Secret Service. It was because they... And so I knew he was safer than most people. Like my son, when he went, he fighter pilot in Vietnam.
Right. Very dangerous.
Then I really worried because by that time he had graduated from the university and went straight into the Air Force. And he, in Vietnam and then in Korea, he was sent both. But thank God he didn't. But my second son died here about, I was living in Worthington. That's when I came back. And he was separated from his wife, and he came home to live with Mom. And he had a kidney infection, went into the hospital, and was getting ready to come home. I went over to see him one day. Oh, yeah, I went every day to he was in the Veterans Hospital in Butler. And I went every day to see him, and I went this day and said, "What do you want me to, I'll be over tomorrow, what do you want me to bring you?" He said, "I don't know, call before you come." I called, and a stranger answered. He said, "Hold the line." I held for 20 minutes. And in that 20 minutes, then he died.
Oh.
There was a doctor working on him Finally, a doctor came on the line, and he said, "We've been working on him for 20 minutes." That's the way I found out he was gone.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was pretty hard. Actually, I've never gotten over it, and I never will.
No.
But I should, because I realize my sister had 6 sons and 1 daughter. The one that I came back here to be with. And 5 of those boys dropped over dead with heart attacks.
Oh, my.
And she got through it. She beautifully. I mean, so she was a real encouragement to me. But there's a syndrome in the family, a problem. So, you know, I really, other than gas, it was cheap, but it was still hard to get. And like I said, I did have a car to run. But how scarce everything was, and when you consider today the toys and the things that the young people have, it just doesn't seem possible that there has been that much of a change from the war years then to, and we're at war.
Yeah.
To the war years now. There's no comparison whatsoever.
What kind of things did your kids play with?
Not very much. Ah, right there's one. The little boy.
Oh, the little car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's them.
Yeah, that's them.
That's adorable.
This is their shoes. They both wore too. Yeah.
Look at that.
Now that's after.
This must be right around that time.
Yeah. Oh yes. This is where this was taken at. That's just before he went to war. Yeah. But that was their Christmas gift. That was their Christmas gift that year.
Pretty nice gift.
Yeah, it was. It was. But they had, normal cars, little cars.
Yeah.
Just little cars.
Yeah.
Nothing electric.
Yeah.
Electronic.
Yeah.
I don't understand all this electronic stuff. As you say, I have no computer. I don't want a computer. I don't have a cell phone. I don't want anything.
No, it's just one more thing to have to do.
Yeah. So,
Well, did you ever think we would lose the war? Did you ever think that might happen?
to war?
The war, did you ever think we might lose?
I don't think I was worried about that at all. No. There were just so many people, like so many deaths, like my brother, and so many families that were hit like that. But I don't think I ever thought that we would lose the war. Yeah, after all, that was so far away.
Do you remember when it ended?
Oh, yes. Yes.
How did you find out?
Oh, dear. I think like anybody else on television. What else? Well, my husband was home by that time.
Aha.
And my brother was also out of prison camp and home by that time.
So your brother was a prisoner of war.
He was a prisoner of war in Romania. And that was, he was just flying over Romania, wasn't it? And he was a on a big bomber.
Uh-huh.
He was a gunner and on a big bomber. And they were shot down. He parachuted down. Several of the fellows were killed. But he was unconscious. He said when he got awake, he was his head was laying in the lap of a Romanian officer on the ground. But they put him in there, and he almost lost a leg because he got an infection in his leg. And when they finally let them come home, and he came. I remember him coming home even more so than my husband because we were afraid he wouldn't come home.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Did you meet him at the train? Is that how he came home?
No, because I wasn't here. I took him to the train. I remember taking him to Pittsburgh, to the train station, a couple of times that he had to go somewhere. But I didn't meet him. I wasn't living here at the time when he came home to Mother and Dad's.
Do you remember when President Roosevelt died?
Yes. Yes. Uh-huh.
Were you surprised?
I don't think so. I don't think so. You know, he really wasn't a well man. He was, I don't know. I liked him. I think he was a good president. Even though I was a Republican, he was a Democrat. But I don't think I was surprised, no. No. But my memory, the other presidents, I remember a little bit
more clearly.
More so. No, my memory is getting worse. I can see. I can't fuss about it.
No.
We have a few, especially one poor lady that she can't find her room here. She isn't nearly as old as I am, so I cannot fuss.
You said one of your brothers died in the war?
They were both shot down at the same time, my mother and dad. He was missing in action.
Uh-huh.
He was also on a big bomber. He was a nose gunner on a big bomber, as was he too. And my dad, years later, he happened to be talking to a neighbor up around there from another town. And this man knew a young man who had been over there too at the same time. My dad went to see him. You won't believe. They were on the same raid that day, and they raided Bremen, Germany. He was based in London. And they went from London to Bremen, Germany, and I forget how many planes were bombers. And they were coming back from the raid. His plane was pretty well shot up. And this neighbor from Reynoldsville, I believe he was, his plane was kind of nursing Don's plane along. And he said they were losing altitude, and they got to the English Channel and were trying to land on the channel, and it blew up.
Oh.
So there were no survivors at all. We knew that. And he was 19 years old.
And this is Don.
That's Don. His name is on this bronze plaque at the courthouse down here in Danny. His name is on that. With that. And this is his twin brother.
And they look a lot alike.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Not really.
I mean, they don't look exactly alike.
Well, with the caps on, you can't tell. He had blonde hair, blue eyes. He had brown hair, brown eyes.
Ah.
But they were the same size. They were both big fellows. And,
They definitely look like brothers.
yes.
And especially because you can't see their color.
And that, Arne said that was so hard on him because they were twins, you know, they're always closer. And he was in prison camp when he learned of Don's.
Oh.
And
So was he the one who was in prison camp in Romania?
yeah.
And they were both shot down on the same day?
And when he was in prison camp in Romania, there was a royal princess of the Romanian government came to camp to see the prisoners and bring them things that they might need, a little extra food or something. Years after he came home, years after the war ended, she came to the United States to visit and look up her boys. And he lived in Baltimore. And she came to Baltimore, called him on the phone, and she went over to his house. She was going to stay in a motel. He invited her to stay. She stayed with him for about a week.
How nice.
She was an old lady like me. But she was a princess. Yeah. He kept in touch with her until she died.
How wonderful.
Yeah, so there were some good experiences come out along with the terrible bad. But, you know, it was just by chance that Dad saw this. No, I don't think by chance. Those things are arranged. And that Dad found, and so we never knew. Don, all we heard, I happened to be home visiting Mother and Dad the day the telegram came that he was missing in action. And that's all we knew until Dad talked to this, and they said, I saw his plane blow up.
So all that time, you still thought he was missing?
Yeah.
Oh, how horrible.
Yep. So, I'm sure there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories like that. But here we are at war again. How long have we been?
10, 11 years? 2002? It's going on 11 years this spring.
And I'm afraid we're getting in deeper, so I won't see it end.
No, I'm starting to feel like I won't
I
either.
won't see it end. No.
And you're right, you really never know here.
No, it sure is. You can't believe, though, the difference in our world from the time I was a little girl or as young as to now. And it's because we're going too fast. All these inventions that will help. But life was so simple. And of course, when I was young, it was really simple. very, very, very simple.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your memories with us.